In this lecture, you will learn a couple more things about const. The first thing is that const, just like let, defines a variable at a block level. And the second important thing is if you define an object variable, const product, for example, is equal to, use the object literal syntax, close it right there. Now, if you try to assign product is equal to another object, literal object, you would expect we'll see an error. If you go to the web browser, let's fix the previous error. Let's not change the value of pi, comment that part out, come back, refresh. If you go to the console, you still have an error, but this time it's on our new object. So once you define an object, you cannot assign that variable a new object. But there is a problem here. We can still change the value on the right hand side. That is, if the object itself changes, for example, I'm going to add a property, product of name is equal to, within double quotes, iPhone, close the double quotes, save it, do a console.log of product, save it, go back to the web browser, refresh, go to the console. We don't have any problems, no errors. We can see the object with its property. So that's a problem. So be aware that if you define an object using the const, that means that variable cannot be reassigned to a different object, but you can still change the object itself. So from my advanced JavaScript course lectures, you would have seen that you can use object.freeze if you want to stop that from happening. So when we define this object here, you can say object.freeze. Within brackets, pass that object to it. Now, if you try to change that object, we should get an error. Refresh, you see that there is no object. You can no longer assign a property to it, but it does not show any error because the strict mode is not enabled. So if you want to use the strict mode in your web browser, at the top of your script, within the script block, use space strict and a semicolon. So use space strict will tell the web browser that it should use the strict mode. If you refresh, now you will see an error. It says cannot add property. Object is not extendable. So you have learned a lot of things in this lecture. You have learned that const, just like let, is a block scoped declaration. It defines a variable within the block scope. Second, when you are dealing with objects, when you use const against objects, the object variable itself cannot be reassigned, but we can still add properties to it. So if you don't want that to happen, use JavaScript's object.freeze. And object.freeze will fail silently, as you have seen earlier. And once you use strict mode, then you will see the error on the console.